Hey everybody, I'd say happy Monday, but it's happy Tuesday, and it's not that happy because the long weekend's over, which means summer's over, so there's nothing happy about it. It's not happy Tuesday, it's more like miserable Tuesday to your
Well,
sorry
the good
ass.
news is Labor Day's closer already by a day.
Good point, Ed. You're a glass half full kind of guy. That's
You
one
know,
of the things
look
I
at
love
this thing.
about
What's
you.
this? This is the hotline.
This is the hotline, so we're going to be fielding calls, except it's not plugged in. We will
Wireless.
be fielding
no,
calls.
No, it's the new wireless.
This is the wireless, yes. It's like, hello, I'd like to ask you a question about your stupid and crazy stock trading methodologies. Yeah, this is the hotline for any of you that want to call us and say, James, my good man, might you have a bit of an idea on whether I should buy more gold? Duh, buy more gold. Gold. Phone, gold. Coincidence? I don't think so. Midas letter, gold. Coincidence? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Price of gold. That's the wrong chart.
Yeah.
Midas letter. Price of gold is up. Anyways, there we go. There's the price of gold for you in the lower right-hand corner.
I'm gonna put up.
If you're still wondering why we're talking about gold, now maybe you understand why, because as predicted, I'm going to point out, as predicted for the last 10 years, gold will resume its upward trajectory when the false ameliorative effects of excessive quantitative easing and zero interest rate policy have exhausted their ability to confound markets and create the impression that things are all good. Guess what? Things are not so good.
Just want to add, I looked at the futures markets last night.
Futures.
And I was into my
futures?
several cups of wine.
Oh, great.
But I looked at them, and I'm pretty sure silver was down last night.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, I looked this morning, and I looked at quite late. Silver was up 90 cents, so it went from being down 5 or 8 cents to up 90 cents, or almost $1. This is the first time silver's been here since the beginning of
Time.
2016, or sometime 2016. But
Yeah.
they came out with bad economic news. This is the worst news that's come out in the U.S. since 2000 for 3 years.
Yes.
And what?
Are you talking about, you might be making reference to
manufacturing numbers?
Manufacturing data is the worst it's been in 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Well, it actually, not growing, shrinking manufacturing data.
Yeah.
You've heard of the
Not only
amazing
that,
shrinking.
consumer confidence in Canada is at its lowest point in 3 years. Not only that, but Boris Johnson's majority in the pro-Brexit departure movement has now been compromised by the defection of one of his key supporters. So now, no Brexit, it looks like is going to be delayed because it looks like Boris Johnson is going to be forced into calling an election. Why do we care over here on this side of the pond? Because markets care. And the whole instability in Britain is a big question mark overhanging the market, which only adds to the instability that is undermining market confidence everywhere, as you can see in the S&P 500 today. It's got all the trading characteristics of a spastic, bipolar Tasmanian devil.
The comments are the Fed's going to have to get more aggressive in lowering rates, but the rates are already low. But I guess they are going lower.
Well, just a minute though. When the rates go below zero, they're not an investment.
No, they're a drain.
Well, they're a cost.
Yeah, so you're giving money back to the government.
Well, it's an expense. It's like when you consume electricity,
Yeah.
you send the electrical company a check, and it undermines your capital position. When you go to the grocery store and eat food, you spend money on your credit card, take some money off of the total money you've got. That's an expense. Now, putting money in government bonds, which used to actually pay you, now you pay them, and it comes off of your total wealth, and that's an expense. So bonds are no longer an investment. Bonds are now an expense. And so if you
divestment.
Well, exactly. So if you participate in bonds of governments that pay negatively, you are actually paying the government to lend them money, which is the height and epitome of stupidity, at least in our small world here. This little small triangle right here, which sometimes feels like it's the last place of, intelligent sort of market, sort of crap,
Something's,
bullshit.
You can say whatever you want. Something's definitely changed. You've got surging commodity prices, but mainly precious metals. And The euro looks like it's weak.
Weak.
All the currencies are weak.
Everything's weak.
Yeah, and this is the beginning of a new week.
Okay,
Okay, so
good one. But yeah, so here's the thing. I bought a triple X leverage ETF this morning. NUGT is the symbol. The ETF went up, and I sold it.
and that was nice.
And made like $2,400 in a few minutes. But you know,
Bang, bang.
bang, 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 pow, pow, pow. If I could do that all day, every day, instead of what we're doing right here, I would make probably some decent money. Now, I want to point out that the reason that I made money was largely thank you to Dan McDermott at thechartguys.com, because I've been doing his course on technical trading because I've never been a technical trader.
No.
And
Now you think you want to become a technical trader?
well, I am a technical trader. I've always been a technical trader.
You're not going to be right all the time, but if you follow the rules.
Oh, yes, I am.
If you follow the rules.
No, I'm going to be right all the time.
If you follow the rules.
I'm not going to follow the rules.
You, okay.
I told you I'm going to be right all the time.
What happened to your nuts? Oh, they got kicked. They got kicked a few times.
How come they're so blue and swollen?
Why are you moaning? Oh.
Oh,
Yeah.
my nuts.
Sure.
No, that's exactly the thing. You got to follow the rules.
You got to follow the rules. You got to have a system that's designed for you.
Well,
and when
yeah, and a plan. And you don't change the plan just because you see some data point that sparks an emotional reaction. You stick to the plan. If the plan didn't work, then maybe the plan is not necessarily imperfect because it didn't yield a profit. Maybe the plan was just deployed at the wrong time. But the trick is that you will never win if you're constantly going to make your decisions based on knee-jerk emotional reactions on data points.
no, you'll never win.
Never.
Never.
Never. Anyways, so that being said, the cannabis industry today. Well,
Yeah.
What is it we say about the cannabis industry today? That it's correlated in some way to the broader markets, and unless there's a nice day in the broader markets, then cannabis is not going to have a nice day. Now, I would like to point out how wrong we are about that today, because the S&P is down, market data is weak, yet here we are looking at an update in the cannabis space. In fact, the large cap index, there we go.
Look at that.
Look, large cap index is actually up 3.6% today on some pretty decent volume, which is pretty good. But even like the Midas Letter CSE index is up 1.7. Even the smaller indexes are up 0.72 and 0.42 on the small cap and the venture index respectively. So the question becomes, is this actually the moment in time at which the seasonal sell-off in cannabis stocks, which happens every year, comes to an end and people start to accumulate their favorite cannabis stocks now that they've been discounted by 50% since their April highs? And all of this naysaying, which I can't tell you how many comments and tweets and things I've seen saying, cannabis is over, all the easy money's been made, it's the ninth inning, it's over. That's what we get. How many years in a row have we had that now? 4 years in a row. Same whinging, moaning, bitching, complaining. It's over. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. Run away. Run away.
There are just like in a day. There's no sunshine part of the day, and then there's darkness part of the day.
Ain't no sunshine when she's gone.
In baseball, you can only score when you're up,
as opposed to lying down.
Or when you're in the outfield, you can't score. No.
What do you mean you can't score?
Markets go up, markets go down. It's the only thing you can say without any, who's going to argue with you?
Markets go up and markets go down?
Yeah.
If there was a way to, I would find a way, but there is no way you can argue with that statement, Edward.
No, you can't.
Perfect in its entire conception.
Look at Kronos going by here, $14.96, up 27 cents. But look where that was. That was over $30. That's been cut in half.
Fuck. What is going on, Ed? Who's doing this to us?
What is going on?
You know, I would like to see our...
there's a 4 times or 3 times bearish on the nuggets, eh? You know what they call it? Dust.
Really?
Yeah, gold dust.
Really?
It's DUST.
Yeah.
It moves 3 times the other way.
Inverse. It's a 3x inverse leveraged ETF.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Gold dust.
Gold dust.
They got nuggets and
gold dust woman, take me your silver spoon, dig your grave. Okay. I won't give up my day job. Sorry, I just can't help it. I do realize how humiliating that is for myself.
Any news?
Oh, yeah, there's some news. It's all bad. Do you want the bad news or the good news first? Well, you can't have the good news. There is no good news. It's all bad. News. Here's the news.
And here's what's making cannabis news today. Dynamed Brands Inc. announced its financial and operational results for its second fiscal quarter, ending June 30th, 2019. All financial information presented in this release is in US dollars. Q2 net revenue was $8.9 million. Net loss was $9.1 million, or 16 cents per share. At the end of the quarter, the company had cash and cash equivalents of $1.6 million. RavenQuest Biomed Inc. has signed a joint venture agreement with Cannabis BioCare to construct cannabis cultivation facilities with planned capacity to produce 35,000 kilograms of medical cannabis in Europe. The joint venture plans to initially build 2 cannabis cultivation facilities in Portugal, with an option for further expansion across Europe and beyond. RavenQuest owns a 50% stake in the joint venture, which is expected to be called RQBEU. Delta 9 Cannabis Inc. has received its renewal license from Health Canada for a term of 3 years. This license authorizes Delta 9 to cultivate, process, and sell cannabis from its Winnipeg production facility. The Green Organic Dutchman Holdings Limited has obtained approval from Health Canada under the cannabis regulation to expand operations into its new hybrid greenhouse located in Hamilton, Ontario. The 123,000 square feet facility will serve to increase TGOD's premium organic cannabis production as it expands its sales in Canada. Indiva Limited has obtained eligibility with the Depository Trust Company for its common shares listed on the OTCQX. Indiva's common shares listed on the OTCQX under the symbol NDVAF are now eligible for electronic clearing and settlement through DTC's automated processes. Medifarm Labs Corp. announced that its subsidiary Medifarm Labs Australia has entered a private label sales and manufacturing agreement with a licensed producer in Australia. Medifarm Labs Australia will purchase dried flower from the licensed producer and sell high-quality private label cannabis, oil, and manufactured products. The agreement has a 12-month term with options to extend. Wayland Group Corp. has been delayed in filing its interim financial statements for the quarter ending June 30th, 2019 with Canadian securities regulators. Wayland and its auditors, NVS Chartered Accountants, continue to work to complete the audit of Wayland's 2018 annual financial statements as quickly as possible. And that's your news for today. For more cannabis news, visit the Cannabis Daily on MidasLetter.com.
How much Tilray's up?
How much is Tilray up, Ed?
$4.50.
$4.
And you know those 3 times I tried to make money going long Tilray?
Yes.
If I would have just waited till now, I'd be on side.
So this is my question for you. If the cannabis sector has been reliant in part upon a robust and healthy upward S&P, why is it that it's trading contra to the S&P today?
I'd be cautious. You know what? I would just say, generally speaking, try not to make statements regarding stock markets that aren't of an absolute nature. In other words, as soon as you say something, this ties into this, it's probably going to be untied. The game keeps changing. That's what I think. That's what we know.
Well, absolutely, 100% with certainty, stocks go up and stocks go down. That will never change.
That will never change.
That's timeless.
Right. Yeah, because if you could only buy something, it would just go up. But you can't. You got to sell it too.
Well, technically that's not true. You don't have to sell it. If we all just kept buying, I mean, the government's printing money.
But somebody's selling it. Or else you couldn't buy it.
Well, that's a good point. So maybe there's a parallel dimension at work here.
Oh.
There's a parallel dimension where they're taking all the money that's being printed here and they're taking it away out of circulation.
Yeah. I don't know about a parallel dimension, but I think I've got parallel dementia. Whatever that is.
Parallel dementia.
Yeah.
There's a whole new diagnosis.
I'm
Is
glad
that
I met you. I'm glad I met you. Yeah. So gold. And look at it's nice to see these these marijuana stocks get a nice bounce today. Tilray's up over $4. Let's take a look.
Tilray?
Tilray. Look at this. Look at this. Well, don't look yet. Not up there yet.
Okay, great.
ELT.
Hey, check out that newsroom on stage 2 in the other room there. And there's some of the stories that we're following today. The South China Morning Post is suggesting that the U.S. may hurt its own firms by blacklisting Chinese nuclear power. What do you think of that?
You know, this thing seems to be getting crazier and crazier.
Yeah? What thing?
This whole trade thing.
Huh.
You could have bought Tilray this morning at $25, and now it's 31. It hit 31.
Wow.
So
that would have been a nice score.
I'll bet you that's absolutely.
But what is there in Tilray's news that has made it go up?
I don't know. I just noticed it just now.
See, there's the thing. If it's
put up this chart here for a minute, a 1 month chart.
Whoa!
Look at this move. That's not it. That's not. This is it. There we go. Look at this. So you see you got a trend line. It tried breaking it there, so you think, well, I'll leave it alone because it came back down, but that's clearly broken out of a pattern. Now, I don't know how high it's going. I'm afraid to death of this thing because if it can drop from $50 to 26, and here it is up $5.
Well, never mind that. Let's not forget the day it dropped from 300 to 240 in like a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Well, didn't help that the
20%.
exchange halted it.
Look, this move here from 25 to say 30 is a 20% move. That's no different than something dropping, from 300 to 240, 20%. So there.
What about gold? What do you got to say about gold? Ed?
Gold has caught a bid, and now anytime there's any controversial news about the economy, about trade, about this or that, what's the go-to? The go-to is gold.
Gold.
There's gold and them there hills.
Yeah. So we saw a phenomenon since 2010 where geopolitical unrest did not result in the price of gold going up. From 2010, no, let's call it 2011, 2012 more or less, till 2017, geopolitical instability did not catalyze or did not correlate to a rise in the gold price. It correlated to a rise in US dollar interest. Now, why is it that there's no interest in US dollars anymore as a safe haven from geopolitical unrest or broad financial instability, and now it's back to gold again? Is it conceivable that perhaps the rhetoric projected by the mainstream media from 2010-12 to 2016 suggesting that the USD was a safe haven from economic instability and geopolitical unrest was in fact false?
These are very difficult questions.
Well, I'm looking for a difficult answer. What do you got to say for yourself there, old fella? Come on.
When gold moves,
people listen.
Look, this thing, gold. You got all the great big bulls here in Toronto. You got
big what?
Rob McEwen.
Oh,
Eric
bulls.
Bulls.
Not balls.
No, big balls.
Big bulls.
Big bulls have big balls.
Big bulls full of big balls.
You know what? But the only thing I say to myself, that this has happened now in the last couple of months, because it wasn't that long ago they were thinking of raising rates, and now they're saying they've got to cut
when
rates.
You say raise, you don't mean R-A-Z-E.
No, I mean R-A-I-S-E.
And there's a big difference. In fact, they're opposites, which is quite a conundrum. Whoever designed the English language really fucked up there. Like
pronounced the same way.
And raise, they mean opposites.
Yeah.
Like what other words in the English language need?
There are some. I don't know what they are right offhand, and I'm not going to sit here and start looking.
I thought you had a list handy.
Look at this. Wow. Wow. Why would Tilray be up so much?
That's a good question. Let's go see if we can find out Tilray news. Let's just Google that and see what happens.
And it caused something to happen today. It didn't happen right off the bat, is what I'm saying.
No. Schaefer's Investment Research cut its target price by $90 on Tilray today.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So that's not a.
Is that our
certainly
friend
not
Keith Schaefer?
Nope, that's not a catalyst to the upside.
Wow.
But even Bloomberg reported that Tilray's biggest bull slashes their pot stock. So here's what is causing this stock to rise: is it's Tilray shareholders or other interested parties are buying the shit out of the stock to offset the news item that Schaefer's Investment Research has cut its target price by $90. This is a preemptive move by traders friendly to Tilray, if they're not actually Tilray shareholders themselves, buying the stock to create an upward trend in the price to offset the selling catalyst that would otherwise be inherent in Schaefer's Investment Research putting out a price target cut of $90. So should you wade into that mess? No. No. In fact, you can be sure that...
Well, I'm going to be interested to see what kind of move we get tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised if the stock's down tomorrow.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if it actually fell through where it is today and then some, because that's a pretty serious... Okay, so there's the thing. So what's the percentage gain on Tilray?
Today?
Yeah.
20%.
Okay, so there's why...
Maybe not 20, maybe 18.
There's why the indexes are up, is because Tilray, which is by market cap weighting, a significant portion of the large cap index, is up 10%. And on basically insider buying.
Yeah.
Which is really, which is kind of manipulative if the, that's the kind of thing that undermines the credibility of markets and the integrity of markets. And
somebody's decided, but that's how this market works. Something comes out that sounds bearish, it reacts the other way. That's how crazy it is.
No, but that's a direct that's market manipulation is what that is.
Okay.
And if the average mining company who came out with a drill result that said, oh, there's no gold here, could come out and buy all of their stock in the face of that to make it look like good news, they would, but they can't, so they don't. It's important to recognize who the Tilray shareholders are. They're not unwealthy individuals, and they're from the technology space in Silicon Valley. And so these guys have deep pockets. If somebody calls them up and says, hey, I need you to buy some stock today because Schaefer just came out with a report cutting our buy rating by $90, we're going to get slammed if you don't.
From what to what, though? What did he cut it to? Did he cut it from like 150 down to
You
60?
don't know?
No, I don't know.
You still don't know? I can't believe you don't know. They cut the target. Sorry, it was Cowen. Cowen and Company is the largest institutional player in the cannabis space, and they just came out with a price target cut to $60 from $150.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I said. Maybe it was 150. Now it's down to 60. So if it's 60, and you're able to buy it at 26 this morning, you think, hey, I got a deal.
Yeah, but that's kind of foolish, isn't it? It's like if
the
guy coming out with a $150 price target comes out and says, you know what, I'm going to cut my price target by over half, then what credibility do they have? So anybody who's buying on that as a bullish signal deserves what they're about to get, which I predict will be a handing to you of your ass on a silver platter.
Yes.
In the days ahead.
Yes.
Because there's no fundamental reason for Tilray to be up. There's no technical reason for Tilray to be up. There is really no reason for Tilray to be up, except for people buying it who are friendly to the company.
It was extremely oversold.
It was extremely...
and it was. And look at...
From a technical perspective.
And now weed's moving with it too, yeah.
From a technical perspective.
Yeah.
From a fundamental perspective, it's got a lot further to fall. And this is what I think is going to play out, because ultimately fundamentals are what define technicals, not the other way around. which is an important thing to remember as a technical analyst, that ultimately your technicals will be informed by the fundamental realities, even though the technicals will give you short-term intel as to the odds of which way a price move should be in a certain time frame. Is that pretty much accurate?
Yeah, you know what, the thing is, we can say we think gold's going to be higher down the road, and then there's going to be a day here where it's going to get smashed. We saw silver backing off pretty sharply the other day, and then it just turned right around and just, look at this. The shorts, if you're short silver right now, you got to think to yourself, what am I doing? You got to feel kind of, I feel like I'm wrong. I'm wrong. You know?
Short silver, yeah, I'd be wrong. I'd be feeling quite wrong about that at this point. There was a piece in the Chinese Communist Party's newspaper that basically said it would be a huge mistake for China to give any concessions to the U.S. because they would then appear weak and be subject to further abuse by the United States. So this is the newspaper that is the official newspaper of the Chinese Party, a guy coming out and saying that. It's essentially the voice of the Communist Party unofficially. It's not a statement of policy per se, but it's certainly a publication of their sentiment.
Right.
And it's a message to the United States government that China, I don't know how much you believe in reading between the lines, but China is in a position to really do some damage to the United States considering their holdings of U.S. treasuries, correct?
You know what? When we start talking about who owns what and who has what, you never really know. Like, you think you know, but how would you really know for sure?
Well, assuming that we're going to pay some attention to the data provided by, like, Bloomberg, who says that the U.S.
they claim to own more U.S. treasuries than anybody else.
1/3 of outstanding foreign ownership of U.S. treasuries are held by the Chinese government. That's the official stat.
If they start selling those things, though,
yes,
that's going to make interest rates look like they're going to go higher.
True.
Okay, because the bond price goes down, yields go up. So what will that do? What will that do to their own problem over in China?
Well, but they don't care. The Chinese have demonstrated historically a willingness to inflict harm upon their own economy in an effort to gain a longer-term advantage over an adversary. That's kind of part and parcel of Sun Wa's art of war philosophy.
Yeah.
Is that sometimes when the odds are overwhelming against you, you must seem to give in while actually drawing the enemy closer and thereby stretching their supply lines, and exposing them to an easier thrust to kill. Get it? And so I think this is what China's doing, and I think Donald Trump is playing
You know what I think? I think it's almost hard to believe anyone. What's really the motivation behind China and the U.S. and they're doing this? And is Trump just want to have his name embedded in rock?
Trump just wants to have fun. Oh, Trump just wants to have fun.
Yeah.
He just wants to. He just wants to.
He doesn't want to be out-Trumped, does he?
He can't be out-Trumped. I don't know. I trumped Trump. Can Trump be trumped? I don't know. That's that's an interesting question. Implying what games can have Trump. Well, euchre, the ultimate game of simpletons, and bridge, a more sophisticated approach to cerebral.
Wait a minute, I like euchre.
Well,
thanks for the insult. Appreciate it.
It's not. It's actually simpletons are wonderful people too. Bridge players are a pain in the ass. You want to see us? Do you want to see smug bastard?
Oh,
a bridge player who always wins, or a chess player who always wins. That's the epitome of a smug motherfucker.
Did you see when Bill Gates played this the guy from Sweden who's now considered to be the greatest chess player alive today?
No.
They did a little exhibition match.
Really?
And Bill Gates thinks of himself as a pretty smart guy.
Yeah.
I think he lasted about 15 seconds.
Really?
Well, yeah, because these guys are thinking so far ahead. He had them set up, and I think he got them checkmated in like 5 minutes or something like that.
Really? Bill Gates?
Wow, big deal.
So he's not so smart.
Well,
So wait a sec. How about is that juxtaposed to a fool and his money are soon parted? Or just because you're good at chess doesn't make you a genius?
If you're good at making money, that's an art unto itself. That doesn't mean anything else. If you're good at making money, you're good at making money.
Right. What if you arrive at your fortune through, subterfuge?
Well, that's not necessarily saying you're good at making money. You're good at being a criminal.
Well, I didn't say it about Bill Gates. You did.
No. But Bill Gates obviously is an entrepreneur. He quit university to start this dream.
Huh.
And he looks like to me he knew what he was doing.
Yeah. Didn't the DOS system come from? Didn't
IBM?
Have its origins in Apple and IBM?
Yeah. No, they're not saying it's the best system. It said he just knew how to run it. He was the best marketer.
I see.
Right.
Right.
I'm not going to argue with him.
Not going to argue with Bill Gates. Play a game of chess against him anytime you want, but I'm not going to argue with him. The protests in Beijing, or in Hong Kong rather. What do you think? When do you think? So remember, in Beijing, 1989, 1987, was it 89 or 87?
I think it was 89 because 87
Anyways,
was the market
so the
crash.
demonstrations started in April, and it wasn't until June when they came in and massacred 2,000 people in Tiananmen Square. So the protests have now in their, 9th or 10th week here in Hong Kong? And the warning and the rhetoric from the Chinese government is sort of amping up towards. So I've got a suggestion for all you youthful protesters in Hong Kong. It's time to get the hell out of Dodge.
Armor plate. Armor plate.
Yeah,
comes
no,
to
that
mind.
ain't going to help you. If the Chinese nation comes and gobbles you up in Hong Kong, you will never be heard from again. You've made your point. Your bravery and your tenacity are the stuff of admiration. But again, in the spirit of Sun Hua, it is important to know when to retire from the battlefield. And now would be a good time, my young friends, because pretty sure these guys are not above a second massacre a la Tiananmen Square. I could be wrong. The Chinese government might have become a passive, sort of socially concerned entity since 1989. Is that possible, Ed?
Yeah, anything's possible. You know what? The internet is bringing out so much innovation, so much this, so much that. How do you keep track?
The internet, yes. Well, the internet has several negative aspects to it. There's a piece in The Economist that is pointing out how the democracy is said to die in a hail of bullets. But these days, it's more likely to die from misinformation on the internet.
Right.
And populism is facilitated by the internet. And in fact, the story on The Economist is the corrupting of democracy. And this is kind of consistent with a theme that is part of another project that we're working on, wherein it is the problem of the algorithm that determines what drives what search result, what traffic to what search result, which eyeballs to, and that is creating this scenario where you've got the radical and the extremes rising to the top because search engines are sending them more traffic because they're algorithmically predisposed to do so, because the popularity of an item determines how much search traffic it wins over time. And extremists are the kind of people who go and visit the same information source time and time again, consume the same information, whereas non-extreme people who are not affiliated with any extreme school of thought, go and consume a piece of content once, form an opinion about it, and then typically don't come back to it again and again. Like a normal person does not share something 100 times with 100 friends. It's your opinion is a personal domain thing. But in the world of the extremists, which are typically those who are appealed to by policies of populism and nationalism, these people go back to this thing again and again and share it again and again, which creates algorithmic numbers that make it seem popular, which gives it more search results. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's my point, is the internet and algorithms and technology companies especially are driving extremism in politics and governments because they're causing.
I see that.
They're causing this. They're causing extreme opinions to seem like they're the mainstream. And I think that's a fundamental flaw in the hands-off approach towards technology companies that really needs to be reined in.
Steve Dunn sent me something the other day about how now it's like, you know, nobody believes in. There's less people believing in organized religion, obviously.
Well,
right?
Jesus,
Yeah.
you know, turned out to be.
It goes on and on. And the point is, what do you do now? You just be mad. Everybody's mad.
Mad.
Yeah, like mad, or you're pissed off about something.
Oh.
They're pissed off because the government isn't doing this for them, or you know what I mean? Like, don't you get the sense that people on the road today are like people driving? They're angrier.
Well, I'll tell you, Ed, my vehicle sits in front of my house. It has plants growing all around it from the pavement on the street because it hasn't actually moved in quite a few weeks now because I don't drive because people on the road
Are crazy.
Well, if they're not glued to a device, then they are in fact homicidal maniacs who are going to take exception at you for driving the speed limit. Because what kind of moron drives that slow?
You know, as we were sitting here, I swear at 20 to 3, I think weed was around up a quarter. It's now up $1.75. It's up another 75 cents from when we last mentioned it.
So instead of yakking...
In fact, I'm going to show you what it looks like.
Oh.
Weed.
Weed.
Weed. You smoke weed and you go, weed. What?
Did you smoke any weed this weekend, Ed? You smoked a shit ton of weed? Boy, I've got
look at this. Look at this. This is a 2-day chart. Now let's look at a 1 month. Here we go, folks. Take a look. Read them and weep. Well, from just under 30.50, now almost 33.50. So 10% move off the bottom. 10%.
So the whole sector's moving. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah.
Or do you think that there's algos kicking in that are moving in concert with Tilray because Tilray's moving? I'd like to look at a tick by tick chart and see if did Tilray start moving before weed, or did they start moving in concert?
Well, I think Tilray started moving because I'll tell you why. Because it was lower than Friday in the morning.
Okay.
Friday's close. So if you punch up Tilray, which I'm going to do again.
I'm going to pull it up too. I'm going to pull it up my TradingView platform because I'll tell you, TradingView is killer.
Yeah, and it double bottomed with it sort of took out the lows briefly. Just got over. Look at this, 25. This morning you could have bought it for 25.50, maybe a little lower. Yeah.
Okay, Tilray intraday.
25.23 was the low. 25.23, and it hit 31, over 31. What's wrong with that?
Not much.
If you and this is the kind of trading that our friend Dan from the U.S. likes to do. He likes to find trends that are going this way and look for a turn. We're seeing a turn here in the marijuana space. That's what it looks like.
All right, well, let's see. There's Tilray. So Tilray's up 10%. Let's see weed. Okay, well, weed doesn't have the same dynamic. Weed just started turning up. Interesting. Okay, so let's see. Let's see our friends at Aurora. Aurora's up 5.68%. But all these things started moving after Tilray crossed a certain threshold. Let's see what APHA is up 6.51%. So I'm going to go back to our cannabis indexes. I bet you they're up even more now. Where'd they go?
So you got gold up big.
Okay, yeah. So the sector is actually ratcheting higher as we speak. 3.37 up now on the large cap, 2.21 up on the CSE. Small cap is up 1.25 and the venture index is up 0.86. So yeah, the whole sector has started moving to the north.
Yeah. And I've got...
On the day when
Look at this.
Cowen cuts their estimate for Tilray by $90. Very curious. I'm really interested to understand how many algos or how many programs are written so that if Tilray makes a move, buy this, this, and this. See, this is the part of the interview.
You know what?
Part of the internet you can't see.
There's a lot going on with machines that you can't see, for sure.
It's like the gravitational lensing effect. You can't actually see it, but you can see its influence on other elements in the universe.
Wow. Jeez, look at this guy. We got this guy right here. Should be the
Which guy?
king philosopher.
Philosopher King. Prince. Hello, can we get Prince down here, please? I don't know if I'm going to be able to
Prince
get used
for
to
the
that.
walls?
Yeah, Prince, the former.
Or you got a printed jacket.
You know, he was Prince, and then he was the artist formerly known as Prince.
Right.
Then he changed his name back to Prince, and now he's the artist formerly known as Prince again, because he died.
Is that the last time he's going to do that?
Probably.
Yeah.
Unless he comes back. You know, Jesus is coming back. Why not Prince?
He ain't coming back in my time, I guarantee it.
How do you know?
I know.
What if he's here?
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
You know, he could be walking around amongst us on the street. He could be drinking beer with you. Who knows? Okay, now we're going to have an interesting little conversation between Alessandro and Nika Domi. And everybody in the chat room, get ready.
So joining me now is our very own Midas Letter writer, who is a financial writer. He's a published writer, Alessandro Bruno. And he will be talking about geopolitics, something that we don't always think about when we're talking about investing and trading stocks. So this is going to be very interesting. I'm curious to know, how does geopolitics play into this whole stock market game?
Well, hello, Nika. Thank you very much for the introduction. And geopolitics is often overlooked, I find, particularly in Canada for some reason. It's not as valued as a tool, not just to look for opportunities, but more importantly, how to prevent taking excessive risks in a number of sectors. For example, particularly extractive sectors, mining and other resources. And as most of our viewers will have noticed, the price of gold is going up.
Yes, it has been for the last recent times, yes.
Yeah, and it has been going up, in fact, to such an extent that I don't think I've seen such a jump since 7 years ago.
Very interesting.
Yeah, and what we have now, because of gold, or actually the gold price is responding to geopolitical events. So if you had analyzed geopolitics and what was happening a few years ago and started to put the patterns together, you would have bought gold at a much cheaper price, and right now you'd be sitting on $400 or $500 worth of upside. That's one of the reasons why it's so important to consider geopolitical events. It's also important not just for gold, and silver, but also for other materials that have applications that are in industrial realms, like battery metals or technology metals, for example, rare earths. These are going to be very interesting to look at in the next few months because of the trade tensions between the United States and China. So looking at dynamics of power relations and country relations, conflicts around the world, does help to come up with a framework within which you can choose your risks and your investments accordingly. And that's the article I'm writing, hopefully will be published tomorrow.
Very well, we'll be looking forward to that, yes. So because I guess it's that type of mentality that we mostly focus on today, and we're not very good predictors, are we? And especially around here, we're a little bit closed-minded when it comes to the world politics. And I think that lately, with the situation with China and the trade wars, that kind of highlighted the importance of, you know, when we see that one tweet and one regulation and one political event can have an instant impact on the stocks. Right, so now we've kind of opened our eyes to like, wait a second, I guess this kind of does affect our stocks here, and we started looking more into the political situation. But it's important to keep that in mind, I guess, and be able to predict things and more into the future, right? So how do you predict these events on your own?
Predicting, of course, is not something I recommend because at least predicting with certainty. It's always important to realize that predictions are just a guide. Nothing will happen exactly as predicted, and in order to come up with the most accurate prediction, the person would have to have all knowledge of every person, of every event, up to that very moment, from the beginning of time, to see how everything comes together. I don't think we'll ever have even a computer close enough to, because we don't have recorded history that's that accurate. History is a number of opinions, it changes as well. However, you can come up with a general idea and make more educated guesses than not. So the political tensions right now around the world, and not just between China and the United States, there's all kinds of things happening between powers. For example, China has conflicts or brewing diplomatic conflicts with its neighbors, Philippines, not to mention Taiwan, Japan, and of course, in a sense, Hong Kong as well. So what's going to happen? For example, what does the protest in Hong Kong really mean? And who can we trust to really tell us what's happening? Because what I hear on certain media, on CNN and so on, is not really how I read what's happening. And I've gone a little bit deeper to see who might be responsible and what are the real causes of the student protest. And you'd find, if you went deeper, that what they're really arguing about is economics. There's a generation gap in the protest. It's young people who are protesting. They no longer have the opportunities of their parents and grandparents. Housing costs are huge. They have far fewer opportunities, even though they're getting an education. But what's happened is that Hong Kong simply is not as important to the Chinese economy as it was 10 or 20 years ago. Because Shenzhen, across the strait, is taking over Hong Kong's role and vastly overcoming it. So they're losing in respect to the Chinese, the mainland. And it's essentially they're finding themselves in a phenomenon that Europeans and North Americans have been in since the crucial event, I believe, that people should consider when in a macro analysis of geopolitics and investing, is the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989.
Oh, very interesting. So that still takes an effect so many years later.
We're actually seeing those effects become much louder now.
Wow.
You know,
I would have never thought. I was little then. I was actually in Poland when that happened because I was born in 1980. So that still kind of has an effect right now.
And you're old enough though to remember how important that was. I was a bit older when it happened. In fact, I was in a position to analyze it even in academic papers that I wrote at the time. But no one could have expected what happened. In fact, this brings to mind a quotation from one of the most famous leaders of China. He was asked about the French Revolution. This was Mao Zedong. Not Mao Zedong, sorry. His prime minister, Zhou Enlai, who was even more educated and spoke excellent English. And they asked him, what do you think about the French Revolution? And Zhou Enlai responded, I'm not sure. It's too early to tell. And this was in in the 1950s, so almost 200 years after. So in China, they look at events in very
bigger amount of time.
lapses.
Yes, because here in the West, we are more our mindset is more right now, focused on right now, more short term, and changing very quickly, where in other parts of the world, they're looking at many years ahead, right?
Yeah, and this is what I would advise investors to, if there's one lesson, look at things long term. Don't, short-term investing,
yes.
You might make money as a day trader,
unless
but you have
you're
to
day
be,
trading,
if you're day trading, you have to have your eyeballs right on the moment, and you have to take your gains without thinking how much more you can gain. You have to take your gains and move on. If you've gained a few percentages and a few dollars on that, you sell
that's a whole
and take
different
off.
story. Yeah,
But long-term investing, which is what a lot of people do,
and that's what institutions do.
and institutions, and you have to think like institutions.
Yes.
If you want to pick winning stocks and get
Exactly.
into the right, be sucked into the right momentum. So look at the long-term trends, and definitely the geopolitical one is going to play an ever more important role. And I'm writing a book actually about this subject.
Right, yes. We have something in common. We're both writing books, so we can encourage each other to hurry up and get that out there.
Yes, in fact, it's one of the reasons
timing.
I'm talking about it now, so that I can get it finished.
We'll be looking forward to it.
But the central item in the book, the central thesis, is the 1980, my idea on the Berlin Wall in 1989. What did that do? That changed, all of a sudden, we didn't have a Cold War anymore.
Yes, it changed the whole world dynamic of the whole politics.
In theory, at least. Yeah. So all of a sudden, from enemy, Russia became friend. And,
wow.
But was that really the case? Did that ever really happen? In the 90s, there was an effort from the United States to control Russia. And we saw with Yeltsin, who became practically a puppet of the United States. And with economic formulas were given to Russia to quickly shift from from communism to capitalism. And that created a class of wealthy individuals, but left the rest of the population in tatters. The average life expectancy of males dropped dramatically in Russia. Suicides, alcoholism, it was terrible.
Because the divide is becoming greater, right? Between
divide became which caused the need for someone like Putin to come in and clean up the mess.
Yeah, because lately a lot of the countries have been buying up gold, right? Because I know Poland bought a really big amount of gold recently, which is something very unusual to them. So how does gold play into this?
Well, gold plays into it because of what's happening in the geopolitical. If you analyze what happened after the Berlin Wall, we were supposed to have a friend in Russia, but that didn't happen. So there is once again, let's call it for what it is, a new Cold War that's rapidly becoming warmer, if not hot. And this new Cold War involves not only Russia, but China as well. And that's why gold...
And all the situations that are happening there. Yeah.
And that's why gold is going to become such a crucial factor again, because when geopolitical tensions increase, people look for safety.
Yes.
And the accumulation of gold, buying gold is going to become
still
much more important.
Yeah. Now. Well, let's hope that they also like cannabis for to ease the pain a little bit. And we'll be looking forward to your book. We'll be looking forward to tomorrow's article, and definitely check out on Twitter and or where is it going to be published on Midas Letter website, obviously.
Well, when it does,
we'll know.
You'll know.
Amazing. Well, we have a great talent here in the studio, so thank you, Alessandro. That's been really enlightening.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Make sure you never miss a show by subscribing to our YouTube channel and clicking on the little notifications bell. If you're interested in getting monthly actionable investment ideas in the cannabis space to your inbox, subscribe to the newsletter at midasletter.com. There was interesting insights from Alessandro Bruno. The Chinese really do think in like epochal time frames. And I think you can see that in their unwillingness to respond tit for tat with Trump. You know, Trump adds some more, and the Chinese did get drawn into that game a little bit, but then they stood back and said, well, wait a second. Okay, we're going to stop playing that game now. And, you know, that's when I think it becomes more dangerous for the Trump, because, you know, they're now thinking strategically, not tactically, and Trump is Trump. So...
Yeah.
Yeah, anyways, there's an interesting article by Alessandro Bruno on that whole mindset on our website.
Yeah. You know what? When things get a little screwy, where you go back to what stands the test of time, and what has stood the test of time when it comes to money is gold, silver.
Diamonds.
Yeah. Well, diamonds, not so much, I don't think. You know, diamonds are, I think that's more, well, like diamonds don't trade like gold and silver. There's not a market out there where you can buy and sell diamonds. You got to go through De Beers.
Well, there is in Antwerp.
I know. There's a twerp.
Well, and in New York, you can buy and sell diamonds all day long on, what is it, 24th Street, 26th Street? But, yeah. Okay, so the cannabis industry is on fire in the large cap space. Tilray now up 17%.
Yeah.
Technically, we were looking at the chart, and there's no real technical justification except for the fact that it was overbought, and so arguably that might have actually. There's the chart we want to look at. So, you know, consistent with my education at the chart guys, it was interesting that Dan said that the trend typically will not change decisively until the candle closes on either side of the trend line. So it needs to close below.
And he's looking at that center line, which is like a 20-day moving average.
Right.
It's a pretty short term. Well, it depends on all these things have different meanings. But look how wide that the bands are there. Mm-hmm. You know what? The bands go from being really wide to narrow, to wide to narrow. And coincidentally, what I've noticed about the gold chart is that the bands are starting to narrow a bit. Like gold has been bouncing off this sort of 1560 number a bit, even though silver silver was a laggard in this gold move, a terrible laggard, and now it's caught up. Not entirely, of course, because the ratio is out of whack completely.
Yeah, well, so S&P, ho-hum, not really doing much. It's trading sideways now since noon. Like, it's been kind of sideways all day. Like, look at this chart. There's the start of the day. And look at, let's go, actually it needs its own chart. You can't really
You
see
know what? Somebody just told me a little birdie just told me a little secret.
What's that?
Do you know that Namaste, since this show started today, is up 8 cents?
Namaste.
It's gone from about 46 cents yesterday or Friday to 53 and a half. That's like an 18% move. There's your Tilray move. Paralleled. So what's going on? Everybody's running to marijuana because they figure, well, if the world's going to fall apart, at least I can get stoned.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's, it must be this is what happens now these days, and it's such a technical world, is that sector gets overbought. Doesn't mean if it's fundamentally deserving of it, the technicals are going to kick in a buying cycle that is essentially driven by robots.
James, I've said this, and I think that it's true. Like, there's this huge, everybody's so sophisticated now. Not everybody, but we're always more sophisticated now as we go forward, I would think. And so, yeah, like people now, there's a lot more people shorting than there used to be.
Longing?
Well, I'm longing to short.
I'm longing to short.
Yeah, so look
this week we have
Chiron, $1.53 up 9. The marijuana stock's on fire.
This week we have Bruce Linton joining us, formerly CEO of Canopy Growth Corp. He'll be here tomorrow. Exactly when, we're not quite sure, but he'll be in the live show between 3 and 4. We have, who else we got coming tomorrow? Let's quickly look at our schedule. You'd think that's where I'd be. Matt Bottomley is going to be here, cannabis analyst from Canaccord Genuity Corp.
Yeah.
We're going to have Charles Turk from Faircourt Asset Management is going to be joining us, talking about the 9-point UIT healthcare fund. And then, let's see, we've got Kieran Sidhu, CEO of Halo Labs, is going to be here as well tomorrow to give us an update on what's happening at Halo. That's all coming up tomorrow. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. We've launched a daily newsletter at MidasLetter.com, and there's going to be a lot more news coming up in the days ahead as we evolve into not just a cannabis sector, but also a precious metal sector. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.